International focus first. Iranian president's crashed chopper has in fact been found, and what's very worrying at the moment is that they've reported that there is no sign of life, Vedant.
That's right. In fact, the Iranian president and the finance minister were on board the chopper. In fact, there were massive search operations as well. Over 60 rescue teams that were on this, that were at the spot, and inclement weather, of course, made it difficult, made the rescue operations extremely difficult. But this would also have a big regional impact, given the fact that the Israel-Gaza war is still very much on, and the death of the Iranian president, of course, will have wide-ranging diplomatic ramifications as well. We'll get you all the latest on that. But I believe Mohammad Ghazali is now joining us live. He will be joining us live in a short while.
I believe it's
the
foreign minister, Vedant, who was on board as well. So the helicopter was carrying the Iranian president, Ebrahim Raisi, and the country's foreign minister. And there were several other officials as well who were on board on this chopper, of course. It's a fog-shrouded forest is what the rescue operators are reporting at the moment. The visuals very dramatic as well. But let's go across to Mohammad Ghazali. Ghazali, you're of course not there. We're getting all of these reports on what's happening as far as the rescue ops are concerned. So far, they say no sign of life. With the Iranian president and the foreign minister feared dead in this chopper crash, what are the ramifications? What could you immediately explain for the benefit of our viewers here at home?
See, two things. One, the state media has been reporting that there is no sign of life in that helicopter, which had a crash landing, is what the term was being used by the state media since yesterday. And more than 15 hours since then, none of the government officials or even the ministers there were willing to speak. Though the diplomatic sources in the Western countries had already hinted that perhaps Mr. Raisi, the president of Iran, as well as the foreign minister, they both are no more after it was reported that their helicopter had a crash landing there near the Azerbaijan border, where Mr. Raisi yesterday met the Azerbaijani president for inauguration of a dam. Now, what are the ramifications? As Vedant rightly pointed out, Iran's name had cropped up in the last 7 months since the Gaza war started. Iran has been accused of supporting Hamas, the Houthis, the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and their active participation was not seen until a barrage of missiles and drone attack happened in Israel last month. Now, that's something which is the geopolitical fallout, that now, unless and until any foul play is raised by Iran, because as of now, all the experts we have spoken to right now has only said that this is an accident. And both the officials, the Iranian president as well as the foreign minister, have been killed in this helicopter crash due to inclement weather, and there is no external factors or any foreign agents as of now involved in this attack. As of now, there is no official statement on whether they have finally declared dead or not, but only what we have heard from the rescue workers giving statements that there is no sign of life which has been detected from the wrecked part of the helicopter which has been detected there. Now, the geopolitical ramifications, if you see the last couple of weeks, the kind of incidents which happened. One, India signed a 10-year maintenance deal of the Chabahar port with Iran. US expressed its displeasure over that.
Ghazali,
before that, we also see that how the situation between
Hold that thought, Ghazali. We're going to come back to you in a moment. We're told this is the footage that we're getting courtesy Meher News at the moment of the moment the chopper was found at the crash site. So this is a video that shows the moment when the wreckage was actually found. Remember, there's been a very extensive rescue and search operation that was launched. They believe to have been no survivors in the chopper. The Iranian president at the moment is feared dead. There's of course no official word yet on that, but this is the moment, Vedant, we're told, when the rescuers actually discovered the chopper that was carrying the Iranian president and the Iranian foreign minister. Ghazali, sorry we had to interrupt you there, but that was very important footage that we were getting in. You were telling us about the larger geopolitical ramifications for the region.
See, we know that how the situation between Israel and Iran escalated in the last 6 months. Their active involvement with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with Houthis, and Israel and Iran have been hostile to each other for decades. But the back channel talks were going on between US and Iran as well, which led to the de-escalation between Iran and Israel. And Iran was trying to kind of develop good relations, or say to stabilize its relations with US as well, despite giving overt threats in the media and all. But now this particular incident, the helicopter crash and the death of two senior officials, the president and the foreign minister, people will have to wait to see the kind of reaction which comes in from Iran, because some experts are also saying that we'll have to see who the successor is before, because Mr. Raisi was also seen as the successor to the supreme leader of Iran, Mr. Ayatollah Khamenei. And now we'll have to see that who succeeds him, because as per the constitution, the first vice president of Iran will be appointed the president, and then within 16 days the elections will have to be held. But as far as the geopolitical ramifications are concerned, we have seen that how multiple reports have emerged in the last few months of suppression of independent voices from Iran. We saw those women's movement from Iran, which was suppressed by the forces there, and it was all being done under the leadership of Mr. Raisi, who happened to be the president. So we'll have to see whether there will be any reaction of the civil movement within Iran, how Israel is going to react to the reports, how US is going to react to the reports, because most of the Arab world, as well as Russia, European Union, since yesterday have shown a kind of support for Iran as far as this rescue operation was concerned. But we'll have to see that whether Iran's official, when Iran's official statement comes in to say that what they believe is the reason behind the crash. Is it just the inclement weather, or is it something else as well?
Right, Ghazali, thanks very much for joining us with that update there. So we can, of course, confirm now that the Iranian president is in fact dead. Prabhu Dayal, a former diplomat, is also with us. Prabhu Dayal, this development comes at a very critical time geopolitically, when the Israel-Gaza war, of course, is still on. A possible regime change in Iran, how could that impact Iran's stand vis-a-vis Israel and the entire Gaza situation?
Well, good morning. I don't think that there will be any change in Iran's policy towards Israel or towards the ongoing developments in the Middle East. And I don't expect, for that matter, any change in Iran's internal policies also. Because the Iranian regime acts in a very concerted fashion. I have served there in the 1990s as the deputy to the ambassador, and I have had the occasion to observe firsthand. So the Iranian regime is very, very well knit. For this reason, I think that their policies, both in regard to internal matters and external developments, will not see any major change.
Right, Mr. Prabhu Dayal, I also want to ask you, at the moment this chopper crash is coming in at a time when Iran had launched this very unprecedented offensive against Israel just last month. It's also enriched uranium closer than ever to sort of weapon grade level. So there's been a lot of developments that have taken place, which is why the timing of this crash is extremely suspect. What do you make of the timing, and how do you see this event playing out in the next couple of days geopolitically?
Well, I agree with you that the timing does raise certain questions. There are fears and suspicions that there could be an external hand, and that this may not have been just a simple accident. It could have been something that was contrived. But it remains to be seen what the Iranians find out and what they say. Is there a possibility of a hardening of the Iranian position vis-a-vis Israel? Yes, I think that is very likely. Because while there may not be proof, there will certainly be suspicion. And if proof also arises, then certainly the Iranian position will harden even further. Now, as far as the ramifications on the international scene are concerned, as I said earlier, I don't expect any change in Iran's policy, either in the Middle East region or towards players like the United States or China, for instance, or Russia. These are big international players, and Iran's policy will not change. And I think for that same reason, Iran will continue to try and strengthen their friendship with India, because there is a lot of work that has been done, particularly in recent months, towards strengthening Indo-Iranian ties. And the Chabahar Port Agreement, which was signed very recently, and in terms of which India will have control over the Chabahar port and will manage the running of the Shahid Bahishti port for 10 years. These arrangements have been very significant, and I don't think that there will be any change in regard to the Iranian policy in such matters.
And taking cue from that, Prabhu Dayal, Prime Minister Modi said that India stands in solidarity with Iran. How do you see this sort of, impacting India's diplomatic policy vis-a-vis Iran? Of course, India has, consistently condemned Hezbollah and Hamas and other Iran-backed, even Iran-backed Houthis for that matter.
Well, I don't think there will be any change in the overall approach and the overall policy which India has been adopting towards Iran. These policies will continue. And for that matter, our concerns regarding the ongoing developments in the Middle East, they will also stay in place. India wants the Middle Eastern situation to be resolved as soon as possible. India favors dialogue. And I think we will continue to advocate what we have been doing in the past also.
Right, Prabhu Dayal there, thanks very much for joining us with that. So certainly, as we were discussing, Rishika, it comes at a very critical time geopolitically as it sets in motion a chain of events as well. The crash and, the Iranian president and the foreign minister dying there after extensive, rescue operations. The crash chopper was finally found, and as Iranian state media says, there's no sign of life.
Well, absolutely.